every time you go in front of a camera, every time you sing into a microphone, every time you go on a stage, you transform whatever you're doing. It's not about you. It's not about getting, it's about reaching out heart to whoever's listening, to whoever's watching.
You sing in a death metal band, you sing with
Brujeria.
You played a very dark character on Orange is the New Black. It's just interesting that you've kind of sought light in your life so much, and this quest for light, yet in your artistic world, you've explored so much darkness. Yeah.
When you can't find the light, be the light. Now you're not doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for fame or glory or money. You're doing it to help other people. And hopefully they were moved by what you've said, whether that's, open up this pit.
This is an experience of the void.
Welcome to Occupy the Void. I'm your host, Xtina Rowett. With me is Jess Pimentel, actress, musician, Buddhist practitioner, artist, really.
I'll take that as a compliment.
So this show is all about mental health, and I feel like faith and practice and stuff can be a big part of your mental health. And you have been involved in Tibetan Buddhism since you were very young, like found it as a young teenager, right?
Teenager, kind of totally by accident. Oh, well, I mean, nothing's really by accident, is it? I had always kind of been on a type of spiritual journey ever since I was young. It was part of my upbringing. I grew up in the church, so I grew up having a belief that there was something greater than what I could see and feel and hear, that there's more to it. But as I got older, things were not quite making sense, not quite clicking for me. And I really, really enjoyed Taoism. I really fell into it very hard because in Taoism, it's really about you and your actions, and there's nothing out there. There was nothing out there to pray to ask of, to be like. It was very just logical and straightforward and dry. When I was in high school, our teacher, English teacher, Mr. Morgenstern, had us read this book called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, So I did that, and he wrote back on my paper. He didn't even grade it. He just said, I think you should look into Buddhism. You might really enjoy it. I was like, I'm a Taoist. I know everything, because, we're teenagers. And I grabbed that book again, my mother's book, Religions of the World. The next chapter was Buddhism, and there was the chain of dependent origination. And it's, in a nutshell, why do we suffer? And it was so clearly laid out, because you're feeling this, then you want this, you're not having this, it makes you grasp, it creates a form. It was just clearly spread out, like why you have pain. And if you read it backwards, that's how you get rid of it.
That's cool, because it's ignorance, clinging, and craving are part of the 12, three of the things that cause suffering. Ignorance, clinging, craving.
Ignorance. Go ahead.
How do you, is a part of the practice like eradicating these feelings, like this craving and clinging and ignorance from your life? Can you eradicate it from your life, or can you minimize it, or do you?
Absolutely.
Is that a part of the journey as a Buddhist?
Yeah, part of it is, first of all, is ignorance, right? It's like knowing that you don't know anything, right? And having a false sense of why you're in pain, or why you suffer, or how you can help things, or it's ignorance is in not knowing how the world actually works, not knowing about karma, not knowing about the poisons, the mental afflictions. So, for example, a lot of people ignorantly will say, like, you made me mad. This person makes me mad. That person did not make you mad. You're making yourself mad. So that's the ignorance of not knowing how your emotions work.
Yeah.
The ignorance of thinking that your happiness is going to come from something outside of yourself, right? So what do we say? Oh, when I get that car, when I get that girl, when I get the TV, when I get the phone, when I get the this, when the list goes on and on and on and on, thinking that these things that are outside of ourselves are going to make us happy. When I get the acceptance, when I get the job, when I get the recognition, when I get the award, those things are not going to make you happy. They are kind of, what are they? They are, how do you say, side effects of your good karma, is getting the car, or getting the phone, getting the girl, getting the award.
That's a cool way of thinking about it.
But it's not the goal. When you start thinking of those things, when those things become the goal to you, all you're doing is kind of creating a bigger hole of negativity to be filled that's never going to get filled. So that's another point of ignorance.
What do you replace the goal with? Those kind of goals. What are your goals as a Buddhist? If you're not looking for like that external validation.
Yeah, the external validation, as I said earlier, is just the side effects. If it
Yeah.
happens, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But what you
That's
strive for is different.
what you strive for is
Yeah.
different.
What do you strive for as a Buddhist? Yeah.
Every day you try to do something that can help someone's life in any small way, that
That's
can
beautiful.
make everyone's day better. I'm talking about the most mundane things. When you get up to get yourself something to drink and you're not alone, ask the other person in the room, ask other people in the room, are you thirsty? Or just bring it to them. Bring them something. You see a piece of some litter on the ground, pick it up. You see someone is in a rush, let them go in front of you online. All these little things that little by little, they say, you know, little by little, you're drop by little drop, you're gonna fill up that barrel. But then what happens is when that barrel is completely filled, it starts to spread around you, right? What's the ground around you? So that's kind of what you're trying to do at any level, is to wet the ground around you, make someone else's life easier, try to bring joy, because that's what you're here for.
That's quite beautiful. What do you think, what has it added and subtracted from your life?
What has it added and subtracted?
Yeah.
I mean, giving yourself a purpose in everything you do, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, really takes a lot of pressure off yourself trying to reach some imaginary goals. Whereas this is something that you can actually accomplish every single day. It takes a lot of stress off of you when you start focusing your attention on other people and how your actions affect other people.
When you make art, so you sing in a death metal band, you sing with Brujeria. I tried. I just, yeah, you know, you played a very dark character on Orange is the New Black, who had an incredible, I just felt like that the rage and the foreboding, that the way you expressed hopelessness with rage, I think was really, really powerful. And it must have been a dark thing. It's just interesting that you've kind of sought light in your life so much, and this quest for light, yet in your artistic world, you've explored so much darkness. How do these kind of two quests sit side by side? Like, do they affect each other, or and do you think about the impact of bringing kind of things that can be dark and can be violent and can be, you know, the darker side of human nature to the world? Yeah, in terms of how it impacts other people. That was a very long question.
No, I got it. I got you.
Yeah.
When you can't find the light, be the light. So you have to be the light. And I think because I was given this purpose at such a young age, I wanted to be a Buddhist nun. When I was around 18, I'd asked my teacher. At this point, I had been studying very sincerely, very in depth, many hours a week. And I wanted to be a nun. And he said, no. And he said, are you nuts? You live in the Western world where people look up to rock stars and movie stars. And you're already an actress, you already make music. You're going to help so many more people by continuing to do what you do. But now you just do it with a different intention. Now you're not doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for fame or glory or money. You're doing it to help other people. So every time you go in front of a camera, every time you sing into a microphone, every time you go on a stage, you transform whatever you're doing. It's not about you. It's not about getting. It's about reaching out heart to heart to whoever's listening, to whoever's watching. So because we live on planet Earth, our art comes, you know, our art is a tool for us to connect on planet Earth. And it would be ridiculous for us to not talk about the dark side of things. Because those of us who feel the darkness are struggling, right? We're struggling, we're drowning, we we feel lost, we feel alone. But when you see yourself up there, when you hear the words that were already in your mind of how you were feeling, you know that you're not alone.
Mm.
And I think that's very important, that people know that they're not alone, that it is quite normal, some of the things that we do. Very part of human nature. It's really kind of unhuman to go opposite a lot of times, where we want to act out, lash out, yell back, fight back, punch back. That's kind of our animalistic how we are. Self-preservation, self-cherishing.
Ego. Yeah.
Yes, ego. You hurt me.
Yeah.
So it's okay to know that that's very much a part of human nature. And then as a Buddhist, you try to recognize that, understand it, don't judge it, and if you can, change it little by little, like lifting weights, like learning how to play the piano, like learning how to bake a cake. You learn the recipe, you learn the formula, and you try and you try, and sometimes it's not gonna work. And sometimes it might be okay, and sometimes you're just gonna have to throw the cake out. But you know, you just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, and it gets easier and easier, to the point where you understand why, let's say you suffer from depression. There are many reasons why depression shows itself. It's not only outside circumstances. Sometimes you're wired that way, but you understand that, and now you have the tools to fight it and fix it, change it, at least change it slightly, so that it doesn't ruin your day or ruin the days of other people around you. Same with anger. It will take a lot more to get me angry. I mean, you really have to try to get me angry. Whereas before I would throw things across the room when I was a teenager, would really act out. I was in hardcore. You know, I was throwing chairs and people at hardcore shows.
Yeah. You would, just being a thug. Just,
Being a thug, and it was all right to act out like that. But now it's really, not that. And there are times when I do feel, let's say, that depression coming on. I recognize it immediately. So there's several paths I can take at this point. Do I want to wallow in it? Do I want to fight it? Why? What is the root of this? So what is bringing this on? Is it a time of the year? Is it someone's birthday? Have I not gotten enough sleep? So now you have this checklist that you can go through. So these tools that can help you in a lot of ways. So yes, so darkness, because I was born in that dark-minded world. And I did feel alone, because everyone around me seemed to be just fine. You know, so why am I the only one? Why do I feel this sadness? Why am I like this? Why am I, depressed and suicidal at like 6 years old, 7? That makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
But I learned at a young age that, your mind, some minds are wired that way. So you're just kind of born that way. And now you know that that's how it works. And now you can work around it and work with it.
And you can develop a lot further, I think, when you do have that early experience of darkness or a mental illness. Like I have a mental illness, and I think it's made me have to develop in so many ways, because you have to develop a heightened level of awareness in your impact on other people, and how to manage the internal rivers and the tides, because it's all tides, right? It's all, and it's like impermanence is a big part of Buddhism as well, isn't it? Like nothing lasts forever. And I was talking to my therapist, and I thought it's an interesting one, because we were talking about bad coping mechanisms and running away from feelings and whatever they are. And she said the thing with pain, and I guess it applies to suffering as well, is it will never last forever. No suffering lasts forever. Like it will pass. And the thing is, most people can't sit in the uncomfortable feeling for long enough to let it wash over them. To actually sit and feel your pain is such a skill. And most of us seek anesthesia, seek running away, seek running the hell away from feeling that, and thinking it will last forever, but it never does. And it's really a strange mystical thing, I think, that like to not
really
have this,
I remember being a kid, and you think about when your birthday is coming, when's Christmas, like forever away, and summer break was forever long. And now you're younger, you're like, oh, we only had 10 days, 2 weeks. It felt like years.
Totally.
It's all relative. It's all your mindset. And if you do understand that this too shall pass, which my grandmother used to say that to me all the time, this too shall pass, the good and the bad, this too shall pass. then you can stay a little bit more even keeled in life, so that when something good happens, it doesn't completely blow your world up. And when something bad happens, it doesn't completely blow your world up. And also, you're not the only one going through this. We always feel like, oh, only me, woe is me. But everyone is going through this. And, like, really, all you have to do when you're having a bad day is take a look at what is going on in the world in general. It could always be worse.
Your country
So
is
how
crazy.
dare you feel like this?
America is crazy right now. America is crazy right now. I don't even know that is wild what is going on down there. The whole world is madness. Like, it's,
the whole world is madness.
What advice would you give for someone suffering, like the first things that help you? Because I think, like, look inside yourself, obviously you've just kind of outlined, but yeah,
I mean, it's not an overnight thing. There's no snap, right answer for this. I think we have to learn that taking stock of our mind is just as important as we do with our bodies. We love to look in the mirror and pick ourselves apart head to toe and say, oh, well, this needs a little work. This is looking good today. Maybe lay off some cookies, maybe do some sit-ups, and maybe I should go running. We love to do that, but we don't do that with our minds at all. We don't sit and just think, how am I feeling today? Why do I think I'm feeling this way? How can I change it? Is there something I can change to do it? Because you say, oh, my arms are flabby, I'm going to lift some weights. You don't think, oh, why am I waking up angry every single morning? You don't, and sometimes you don't even know why, right? Because you don't sit there and go through your thought process. You let your mind run free, roam free, and it's just chaos. But if you just sit and take stock, analyze your thought process, analyze what is running through your mind the most. If you have a little OCD, let's say, you might become obsessed about something and you can't get out of it. But recognize that. If you recognize it, then you can deal with it. Or if you're compulsive, that you feel like you must do something, recognize that. How can I help this? How can I fix this? Because just like when we don't take stock of our mental thought processes, we can create a situation that is not there. And that's something that is kind of ultimate reality in Buddhism, is that all things are empty of their inherent nature. There's nothing that has its nature of its own that we haven't put labels on.
Wow.
And we do that with our own minds. We create scenarios that don't even exist in our minds. We suffer a future that has never happened. We go over a past that is not exactly the way we remember it, but we've created this. And we do this with our bodies as well. If you obsess over certain parts of your bodies, we can look in the mirror and say things so mean to ourselves that you would never say to your own best friend, to your little sister, to your cousin, right? But we can do that to ourselves, and we create these physical problems that we see now that don't even exist. So that's the same thing, except it's not a physical form. At least when we do that, we have a physical form that we can point at, right? And see this warped, distorted version of ourselves, right? Totally. But we don't see the warped, distorted version of the stories that we create in our minds.
And they can get gnarly, and having that awareness, it's such, sometimes I wish there was a cheat code to actually being able to watch, like, be the watcher. It's such a challenge. Like, do you ever use like visualization to get into a place? Because visualization is a big part of Tibetan Buddhism and stuff. Are there any kind of visualizations that you do that have a big impact on your mental health?
Absolutely. There are so many, and there's so many, they go from very simple to complex. One of them is just watching your breath. You visualize your breath going in and out, and try to keep your mind on that breath. And once you start thinking about your phone bill, you start back at 1. And once you start thinking about what you're going to have for lunch, you go back to 1. Try to get to 10. I've never gotten to 10.
But herding cats.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, that's what someone, I used to think I was really terrible at meditation. I'm like, oh no, this is meditation. It's just running away and coming back and running away. I guess you probably get better when you do it, when you practice it.
It's like any exercise. It's a mental exercise. Like any exercise, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And one, I love Tonglen meditation. It's putting a kind of a visual framing of an emotion or a feeling,
Yeah, right.
whether it's physical pain or mental pain, and you can see it as a black smoke leaving your body, white light entering in. That's, you know, like good in, bad out. But now you're doing a more visual exercise with that, visualizing lights and smoke instead, or it could be a quality. Alion, she has a wonderful book called Feeding Your Demons. And she does Pema Sultrim Alion. She does a great breakdown of how to do these exercises when you're visualizing emotions and feelings and also physical pain, but you're dealing with it through breath work.
Yeah,
which
wow.
is really cool. And then you can also do it for other people. If you know other people are in pain, you visualize yourself taking that pain and destroying it and giving back to that friend, that person, the world, the planet, what is needed now to help heal, to help them feel better. And it makes you connected to that person. It makes you connected to yourself. And it also helps you break down your own ego, your own self-cherishing, because now you're experiencing their pain as well. And you're using your body, your mind to focus on someone else for a change. And it's very, very powerful, because you really do start to believe and feel like you are helping them. And if anything, you're sending that energy. If you believe at all in science, in energy, in connection, connectivity of any kind, interconnectedness, you are sending that energy, that focus to that person. You really will have good benefits mentally for yourself and for them as well.
And that's beautiful. Like, I guess there's, I was trying to do a bit of reading on this before I spoke to you. Like, the Four Noble Truths were explained to me as suffering exists, it has a cause, it has an end, and it has a cause to bring about its end. Like, that's just one person's take on it. And I had a question that, how did your experience of suffering before you discovered it impact your quest to kind of get to the root of this? And was it about your own suffering? Was it about, did you see people around you suffer, or were you kind of thinking about it in the bigger picture humanity sense of why do we suffer?
I think, and as far as I'm concerned, the reason I went on the quest was because of my own suffering. There were things going on in life that I couldn't understand, couldn't fix, and no one had an answer for me. Said, why, if God loves us so much, if God knows everything, if God created every second of our lives, then why, right?
What?
So, and that was at a very young age. So it was really at firstly to find the answer for my suffering, which I think is kind of almost everyone, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a little older and you do start to see what's around you. But I mean, it's kind of, I don't know if it's poetic or prophetic that the very first thing we do when we're born is scream and cry. You know, it's not an easy journey to get here. And then once we're out, the first thing we do is like,
wow. Sometimes we just keep whang our whole lives, just whang.
Scream and cry. You're like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Being born is painful.
Yeah.
You know, it's like being shredded with 1,000 razors and thrown into a vat of alcohol. You're just burning and crunched and suffocating. It's not pleasant to be born. It's not pleasant to get sick. It's not pleasant to get older. And it's not pleasant to die, you know, unless you're really maybe in pain. But even then we fear what's going to happen, and then we cling on to the life we have. So that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, life
right?
is
So there's really nothing great.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm so hungry. You're hungry. You're starving. You eat too much. Now your stomach hurts. Now you wish you never saw food again. But then a couple hours later, you're hungry again. Oh, I wish I had a chair. My feet hurt so much. Then you sit for 3 hours. Like, I wish I could stand up. No matter what we do, it's always going to have to change to the opposite for us to think that we're going to be happy, and it's never going to work. And that's the terrible truth of suffering. The suffering of suffering That's a fundamental blueprint of this world, that this life that we live in. It's a fundamental part of our human condition, human existence, is that we're always, every second of the day, avoiding suffering. And not only that, but there's no way to end it, because it's always going to keep changing. So there's the suffering of change as well. So we're sitting in this beautiful summer house, the clouds roll in, we're freezing, everybody puts on a jacket and a hoodie and a sweater, and then 15 minutes later the clouds roll by, and now we're just only too bad. Oh no, now get the shade, now it's too shady, now it's just consistently changing. And because of that condition that we have, there's always this inherent like unease that we have in the human existence, because we never know, we're always waiting for something to change.
Yeah, that's quite profound. Yeah, being alive it's an experience.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's tough, it's not easy.
It's how do you think music affects that? Like, how did your experience, like, in a few ways, like, how does music affect your concept of suffering and all that stuff? Because I feel like you've had some really interesting threads through your life of art and of this faith and all of this sort of stuff. So I was wondering, like, as a listener, because I know you had some profound experiences. You're part of New York Hardcore. You had a profound experience with King Diamond. Actually, what's your take on Satan? Let's just throw that out there. What's your take on the concept of Satan? Yeah, what's your take on Satan? Let's just get left field here, Jessica.
Mr. Misunderstood. You know, as a Buddhist, we don't really subscribe to the.
I didn't think so.
You know, but there are characteristics of Satan that I think we all see in ourselves, right? We're like the kid that's like, you want to be the favorite kid, right?
Exactly.
And I don't think everything about Satan per se in the classical Christian Christian sense, not Judeo-Christian, the Christian sense, is necessarily bad, because it is about expanding your mind and learning and finding the light and the divinity within yourself. That if you believe in God, you were blessed with divinity, right? But somehow we kind of knocked it out of ourselves, that we're not allowed to have it, or we shouldn't have it, or we don't deserve to have it, which is very strange, because as a Tibetan Buddhist, we see ourselves always as perfect. You and everyone and everything around you is perfect. It's only our minds that need to be cleaned and fixed and changed. It's our minds that are preventing ourselves from seeing things perfect as the way they are. So you have to kind of remove those blindfolds, remove those labels that we've put on things, that block us from seeing the beauty in every single thing, in every creepy crawly, thing on the ground, and the water, and the flowers, the moths, the mosquitoes biting me. Everything is perfect the way it is. It's only our selfishness and our self-cherishing that chooses to see it differently.
That's a very healing stance. Like, if you actually internalize what you're talking about, like, that's a really big deal. This is life-changing stuff, really.
Which it really is,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, and I'm just glad you went on a quest. And
this is before internet, so I really went on a quest, like knocking door to door, Chinatown, and went to every temple I could find. And there was one newspaper that was out, Snow Lion Publications, and they had the list of all the temples in New York, and I had to go through like finding the quest, going to each one. Sometimes they were locked, sometimes they were closed, sometimes they disappeared, sometimes no one spoke English, sometimes everyone was like a middle-aged white dude, and I thought it was weird, so I didn't go in there again. Not for nothing, but I was just like, this is really weird. I'm only like teenage brown girl here. I probably shouldn't be here. I had to find the right place for me, And I believe I found it. Or actually, they found me, which was funny enough.
That's cool.
But you were talking about the suffering. Of course, once you get to know intimately your own suffering and why you suffer, and and understand that it is impermanent, and understand that you can fix certain aspects of it, or at least diminish the pain that you feel, or diminish the impact that the pain you feel has on your life. No, what's happening?
What is that?
My computer is updating. Once you realize that, then you develop a compassion, a self-love, where you take care of yourself the way you would take care of a child. And then you start to see that in everyone else. And it becomes easier and easier to not only be compassionate, but to be altruistic, because you can be compassionate and feel things for people, but not do anything about it. But then you can also do things for people, not really feel anything for them, but know that it's the right thing to do. So somewhere in there, is a sweet spot where you can really do a lot of good and a lot of important work.
How does music play into this?
Oh yeah, remember that time?
Yeah. Sorry, I just went on the whole what is your take on
totally
and
forgot.
derailed my own question.
Starting basically, I started playing music at a very young age. First of all, it's something that brought joy to the house. Friends, family, we get together, we sing songs, we play the radio, we dance around dance party. That's something that is a given of music. That's kind of universal. It's usually celebration. It's to augment and emphasize any emotions that we're going through. But starting as a musician at a young age, it taught me discipline. It taught me concentration, taught me motivation, taught me failure, how to set a goal and work towards a goal. And all these things sound very silly, but here we are. In order to tame your mind, you have to tame your mind, right?
Good for mental health. Absolutely, all of those are good mental health things. Yeah.
Yes, concentration, motivation, discipline, because it's not easy to do things every day, twice a day. But once you get into that routine, and then knowing, that something might be too hard today, but a month from now, it will be very easy. And that also, that impermanence, that if you work towards your goals, you'll be able to accomplish things that maybe you never thought you would be able to. So it's like a glimpse into the future, right? And then you also have the creative aspect, which is more important. Being able to express yourself non-verbally, for me, whether that is in dance or music, whatever your art may be. Maybe you're a carpenter, maybe you're a gardener, maybe you are a chef, maybe you are whatever you do. You can express yourself, your emotions. You can really put your energy into something that you're creating, which is really awesome. And then the connection, playing with an orchestra, playing with 100 people, playing in a band with just a few people, making an idea become something alive that lives, that you pass on, and having people sing your songs back to you. That means you've made a connection, you've made an impact. They heard you, and hopefully they were moved by what you've said, whether that's open up this pit, or
important guidance, important spiritual guidance.
Yes, or om tare tu tare ture soha. Somebody heard you somewhere, and you gotta have a connection together. Which is very beautiful.
Why heavy music? Why has heavy music become your home?
That's where I live. We're all different types of people. Different people have different affinities for different things. And I am definitely more a wrathful type being. I am not a weak little princessy type lady. I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. All right. I got a strong Latin background, strong roots.
Yeah.
We talk with our hands. We're loud. We're abrasive. And that's just what hit me always. And I love all kinds of music. I playing violin with a band called Valhalla. That's electro.
Yeah.
I love all types.
Still dark. Still dark.
Yes, very dark.
Yes. Still goths.
Yeah, like I said, I was wired darkly, as they say. So these things
Steele when you were little? Yeah, no, sorry. Keep going.
Go ahead. What did you say?
Peter Steele when you were young in a park?
Could you say that? You cut off.
Did you meet Peter Steele from Typo Negative in a park?
Oh yes, yeah. He used to take my neighborhood park. Yes. He was like a park ranger. I guess that's the word. It's a park ranger department. Yeah, and he used to take care of my park. And he would catch me cutting class. Don't listen, Mom. He used to catch me cutting class and like, shouldn't you be in school? Okay.
Yes.
I don't have to be until 1 o'clock, mister.
Oh
And I
God.
like saw this gigantic man with this long black hair and the green man. And he's like, what are you listening to? I'm like, I'm listening to some King Diamond. And he's like, oh, that's really cool. How about, you ever heard of Cro-Mags? You ever heard of Carnivore? I've never heard of them.
I love all of this.
Gave me a tape of a bunch of hardcore bands, and that was my intro. It's like, this is my band. I don't know if you like it. Typo. So I could never remember the name of the band. I was like A positive something blood something. Could never remember
That's a
the
good indoctrination, man. That's
It
a
really
good,
was.
yeah.
It really was. And he always he would listen to me if I was sad. He wouldn't rat on me when the tension was rolling around the park trying to collect children. And knew that I was just a kid that needed my own space. So I very greatly enjoyed my time alone. I would wander up and down the streets of Brooklyn on the promenade, the Brooklyn Bridge, walking around Central Park. I know I love my friends and my social things and shows and all that, and I still am this way. I could spend days alone, and it's fine with me. I've always kind of been a loner type,
Yeah.
and I'm very content with that. Only child, you find a way to entertain yourself. But Peter was like a big brother, Uncle Pete type, always respectful, always asking me how I was doing, giving me pointers when I said I finally got an electric guitar, giving me pointers on that, playing music, and sneaking me into shows sometimes. And
That's a fine baptism. That's a fine, well, we're talking about, it's a
I
baptism.
mean, it was even cooler because I didn't know who he was yet. I
Yes.
didn't really
Just
know who he was. And then one day you turn on the TV, you're like, Uncle Peter's on TV. Like, oh,
It's
and then see your hometown
the heavier
heroes
the
are,
music, the heavier the music, the nicer the people.
yeah,
I
pretty
think
much. I think because we are not afraid to explore those sides of
yeah,
us, and we're afraid to let go of them. Whereas most people, that they look all nice and respectable and stuff, and they have these deep fires burning, eating them alive until they just explode and like kill someone. Or and with you always say you would never expect it from a guy like that, right? It's always that
totally.
guy. You would
Whereas
never expect it from a guy like that.
Whereas the healthiness of expressing our darkness is often enough to put out the fire, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Putting out the fire, coming to terms with it. That big bad monster is not so bad if you just sit at the kitchen table with it and say, what's up with you, monster? What do you want from me?
I'm curious. So your partner is Tomas from Meshuggah.
Yes.
Where do you stand in terms of, he's written some interest, like used words as weapons in his music, absolutely, and definitely talked about some stuff about faith and spirituality and all of that sort of stuff. What perspective do you share, and where do you differentiate in your perspective on spirituality?
I feel very thankful, very lucky that I have a partner that doesn't judge my choice of spirituality. So I've had that in the past, and people making fun of your choices. I
Yep.
think it's really funny when you're younger and everyone's kind of making fun of you being a Buddhist or something like that because it wasn't in or something. But then you see them at the Tibetan store buying incense for their little ritual, for their little Satan thing, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right, dude. Whatever. So I feel very lucky that he lets me and respects my spirituality without me trying to convert him, or him trying to convert me. I think he's a natural observer of things. So some of us need more help than others. Some of us need a little more structure. But he's a nature man. He's probably out there fishing somewhere. So he's very in tune with the world around him.
Yeah.
So he's just a natural at kind of, I wouldn't say spirituality in the sense that that there's something outside of himself, but very observant and very very empathetic.
That's awesome.
To things. So it's made quite a great combination. And you see it in his poetry. You know, he also has a very, very dark side in his writing, but because he expresses that dark side and he's not afraid to express that dark side, you'll find that he's one of the kindest, most compassionate, most sincere, loving individuals on earth,
And that's
because he knows how to look in that face.
And that's beautiful. And I think there's something very magical about artists getting together and feeling when you connect with another artist and feel understood, it almost, I think it does till your soil. That kind of,
Hey.
yeah, yeah. Eh, eh. What would you define as mental health?
Oh, that's a great question. What would you define as mental health? Um, uh, like we were discussing earlier, basically that when something good, good, quote unquote, good happens, or things that we find pleasurable happen, and when things that we find unpleasurable, distasteful, painful happen, we're not completely derailed by it. So we're trying to find that happy medium where we understand that all of this is temporary, it's going to change, good and bad, and that nothing is going to completely knock us off kilter of having a nice, pleasant day, no matter what is going on. We can look at the problem objectively, or look at the reward objectively and see how this helps us, hurts us, harms us, and how we can use this in the future, how we can walk around it, over it, through it, next to it. And remaining with a calm mind all the time, no matter what's going on. I think that's a good judgment of where your mental health is at.
Yeah, like a sort of an awareness. An awareness
Yes,
of, yeah, like a high, like I guess being able to transcend whatever's going on in here, whatever chaos is. I just started reading a book called The Untethered Soul, and they talk about how I don't know whether you've read it, and it's interesting. And they just talk about how everyone has this incessant voice in their head, and you just gotta make peace with it, or you're gonna have a really rough time. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think most of us have an incessant voice in our head because the incessant talking, that chatter, that noise, because we don't know how to shut it off.
Yes.
And that is the thing about meditation and meditation with focus, is that eventually the voices do get quieter.
That's cool.
And eventually you can turn them off.
That's powerful.
Or you can make them say what you want them to hear, right? And
Yeah.
I find, that happens to me a lot. Is this kind of a non-conventional thing, but in sensory deprivation tanks, I do that from time to time.
Yeah, cool.
And it's just floating in magnesium is really good for your body. It has physical health benefits of the magnesium, releasing blood pressure, helping with pain, helping with injuries. But what I find is when you turn off all those lights and there's no pressure on your body and you're kind of in this neutral cloud-like space, after the many hours or minutes of, Drake and Rihanna and Metallica, you turn off. All the pop songs are first, then all the things you have to do. Did I do this? Once that goes, it gets quieter and quieter, and you can start to maintain that longer and longer. I would say maybe the equivalent would be like holding your breath. Like if you're not used to holding your breath underwater at first it's very scary. Then you do it for a little bit, and then you see these people doing these deep dives, right? So that never-ending conversation is something that is showing you that it's a lack of your mental control.
Do you think this especially plays into the creative process, like being able to be this walk the middle path sort of thing in your head? Or do you need to get turbulent? Yeah, like how do you get into a headspace, like if you are like maintaining this equilibrium to go and create, like does that take a slight shift, or where does that kind of come from?
When I create, I really just go off. I especially writing lyrics. Music is a little bit I don't know how music happens. How does music happen?
Maybe that's ridiculous. That's an absurd
It's like a
question.
magical thing, right? I don't know how it happens.
Yeah,
You
there's
just,
no rules.
I have no idea how it happens. You get a riff and maybe you bounce it off someone else and kind of evolves into a story. It evolves into a story with no words first. And it has to be, for me, the song has to be complete before you put a lyric to it. It has to tell a whole story by itself, or there's no point for me.
Interesting.
Or it has to evoke some type of emotion. Then I see, what is this emotion evoking or invoking to me?
Yeah.
What am I seeing? I will get images, snapshots, and being that, I promised my teacher that I would dedicate my art to others, helping others and spreading Buddhist philosophy and practices. I try to see which prayer, which meditation, which deity it reminds me of.
Cool.
And I try to get those aspects of that practice, that work of writing, that sutra, that prayer, that god, that goddess, the goddess Vajrayogini, Vajravarahi, Kurukule, Vajrapani, Palden all these great, really epic characters, right? You have the characters are already there. See if there any poetry comes. Sometimes I just hear one line over and over. This last song that I wrote with Sergio Vega from Deftones, there was just one line that just was forever and ever, and it took me months and months, and I could only hear this one line, and then one day the whole thing came in 30 minutes.
Awesome.
So it's like, trust the process, I guess. Trust the process and have an idea of the story I want to tell. I'll kind of see the movie of the story in my head with the lyrics, and then the lyrics just kind of appear one day.
It's so interesting how vastly different everyone's process is, because there's no rules.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of, it's mystical. What are you working on at the moment, just out of curiosity, while we're in,
Great.
What's on your slate?
Couple of projects. Well, we have coming out next week a show for the New Zealand Rugby Coalition called the Offsiders in San Diego, where we're kind of getting prepared for the New Zealand All Blacks, one of my favorite teams on planet Earth. Awesome. And Fiji are playing a match in San Diego on Friday, the 19th. So we kind of wanted to get people kind of interested in this sport as it pertains to Americans, because it's kind of growing fast. And it would be great to have the US be part of this whole kind of world thing that everyone else is a part of, but we're really not. Because I'd love to see the All Blacks play more. So it's really fun, a fun kind of travel show, and that's on NZR Plus.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
a free app, NZR, free app, and you can watch a whole bunch of shows about different towns. And Taika Waititi did a show, and a little bit about rugby, the Black Ferns, the ladies teams, how badass they are. Really, really something that's missing in American sports. It's the love of our female teams.
We had a moment with our soccer team, obviously, where there was like the most watched thing that it was like one of those things where everyone watched the match, like everyone, and Australia was killing it right up to the end. They didn't win, but it was it's wonderful seeing these badass women like absolutely kill it, and the world take notice as well.
Yes, I really support that in the sense that I don't think that these young girls now have enough badass female role models.
Yeah.
I think this social media situation has really gotten out of hand with how we were expected to look and be and act.
Yeah, I'm really glad there was no social media when I was growing up. We're about the same. Yeah, we grew up in the best time. Like, honestly, dude, like it was great.
I feel like we're just teaching young girls to hate themselves from.
It's so from a mental health perspective. On the note of this show, yeah, social media is very dangerous. Like it's yeah,
and it just amplifies insecurity. It's creating a collective body dysmorphia.
Yeah, I
You know,
couldn't
you see
do that if I was.
beautiful girls that go and do this surgery to themselves and they've completely like erased what made them unique.
It's freaky.
It's more as being I guess socially acceptable, or I don't know.
It's
I
strange.
don't even know what it is because it's a trend. Because whatever is in now in a few years is not going to be in anymore. So I don't. It amplifies your weakness when you feel you have to rearrange your face and body to make other people happy.
It's, well, I mean, it's the whole essence of what we've been talking about is, yeah, then not understanding that it comes from within. And all the looking for that external validation, like I've got to do this, I've got to do this to get that, to that grasping stuff. Like,
But it's never gonna work because there's gonna be some younger with bigger boobs with more fake hair with longer eyelash. I don't know. No matter what you fix, whatever you fix,
goddamn exhausting. Yeah,
you never win.
Good role models are important.
Yes, good role models are important.
So you've got to see it to be it.
Yes, so that's part of why I was working with NZR, that the way the New Zealand treats their rugby teams, especially the female teams, it's to me very, very exemplary and very exciting. And I hope some of that rubs off here to our young girls that know that everybody has a purpose. Like every body type in that sport has a purpose, whether you're tall and skinny, you're short and stocky, big and fat, yeah, I don't know, you're just around. I don't know. But there's a purpose for you. Somebody needs you, somebody loves you the way you are, and I think that's great. So that's one thing that we have coming out. And then after that, we have I'm in a video for Seishan B. He's going to be releasing something in a couple weeks, a really, really poignant, powerful video. I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm just in it. It's not my music, but I really love his style. He's kind of just a classic blues man from Chicago, Indian heritage. And he's really put out some beautiful, powerful, and this political climate music that is very poignant and apropos for the time.
Awesome.
And then Valhalla coming out in August, the new single. And I'm just working on stuff with Black Heart Sutra and Seven Sons. So with Seven Sons, we're writing for a chorus. I'll be writing lyrics and vocal parts for a chorus based on their music that's already written. And Black Heart Sutra is the nastiest 3-piece, electric violin and drummer Kenny Grahowski and Earl Minian on electric violin, and me screaming until my eyes bleed.
Awesome. This is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And hopefully, hopefully La Bruja and Coronada will have a chance to stop by one of the shows this year somewhere at some point. Yeah. We never know.
You never know. It's mysterious. It's mysterious.
We never know where she's going to be. We never know what she's going to be.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Miss Xtina.
It's really fun.
Yeah,
I feel lighter being around you. It's very
great.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you a great deal.
Thank you. You're wonderful. I really appreciate what you're doing and asking me to be on here. I think it's really important for us, especially in this community, to talk about these things and get to know different methods and angles and purpose of how we can keep each other safe and healthy and look out for each other.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. And that's the point of this show, guys. Occupy the void. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. I appreciate you.
This is an experience of the void.